they're stretching this IEBC issue to the farthest yielding point we can get this to get to. Many question, because yes, as he said, it could be very convenient for politicians. One thing is that there's a whole generation that is disgruntled, the young generation, the Gen Zs, who are yet to register as voters. It is a key demographic, if at all it does get to register as voters for 2027. That could also be part of the reason why not many politicians are interested in having IEBC early enough. Don't you think that these issues in the judiciary are a bit too convenient for the political class?
Well, I think one thing I agree with Dismas is that a lack of a properly constituted IEBC and functional in that manner is a matter of national interest. And there should be no judicial hang-ups or handicaps or hurdles that can prevent us from addressing an issue of national interest. I think it is about time as Kenyans we rise to the occasion of realizing that electoral injustice do not happen on the voting day. They start before the election. And the only way we can deal with these whole issues of electoral injustice is by having the key player, who is the IEBC, the referee, ready to help myself and Jerry and Dismas get into a political discourse with the rest of Kenyans and vote, and finally have the will of the majority prevail and the desire of the minority expressed, and thereafter a total acceptance of the outcome. The unpredictability of an election needs to be predicted, that should we employ and engage in this conversation on this activity of voting in the leadership we want, we know this is how it's going to play out. We know these are the timelines. We know these are the functions and responsibilities of this department and of the IEBC. But the political class, especially the current political class we are having today, will not let that happen. One, there is a fear of recall. I agree with that. Two, they know Kenyans are determined to go to an election. Kenyans are determined even to seek a snap election before 2027. So if we have a functional IEBC, it's actually a disservice to them. But it is a greater violation of our constitution by this current government not to help the country have a properly constituted and functional IEBC. Further, I also agree, there are Kenyans who are suffering because they lack representation. Either the members passed on, unfortunately so. There are places we should be having by election, various offices, we have constituencies and some other areas in ward levels, but that is not happening. Why? Because of the failure of government. I also agree that some of the litigations we are seeing around the IEBC and the whole saga are sponsored just for the delayed effect that the government wants to continue enjoying. So this matter needs to be treated as a matter of national interest with utmost urgency. We need an IEBC in place. The founders of the Constitution, they were not lost for wisdom when they said they needed 3 years in advance to be properly funded, properly organized. This will help us overcome all these handshake, NADCO, broad-based government shenanigans we are exposed to after the election. Because people will be knowing this is how it's supposed to be, so it's going to be handled. Should you have electoral disputes, this is how you go. Do you need to go to the streets? All those factors need to be addressed. Further, the selection of the commissioners. You know, I don't know why we lost the lesson from the dissenting voices of the Cherera and company. That was a wake-up call that as a country, we need to really work within the rule of law. And I think that is the greatest failure of this government. One of the things they are not able to do is to subscribe to the rule of law when it serves the interest of Kenyans. Mm-hmm. But when it serves their interest as a political class, they are very happy to come out and say, this is what you want done. Okay. We need an IEBC. There is no brain about that. And it needs to be treated with utmost urgency. Further, the issue of Raila Odinga not going for the AUC win, he is incompetent to hold that office. He has had a very good political journey. He's been a key player in fight for democracy and progressive electoral institutions, both in Kenya region and in Africa as well. But what Africa needs now is totally different than what he has to offer. He could be saying he's ready for Africa, he wants to be the lion that roars, but that's not what we are after. We need new infusion of new energy and new thinking. And I do not feel that he has that to offer for the continent. Okay. Lastly, you know, all regimes, when they want to stifle democracy and call for progress, either here in Africa, in Europe, or in Far East, the first thing they do is to take away human rights. One thing that we must have as a country is a progressive constitution being allowed to work. Because in Africa, I think we have one of the most progressive documents in terms of constitution. But you see, the government is very deliberate not to let it play out. And one thing we are being denied is registration of new voters, because there should be continuous registration of voters. That's the only way we get to determine the kind of leadership we have. So that is one thing we need to look into. Even as we talk about the whole 2027, there are a lot of things that needs to happen before.
And as you make your final comments, because we are about only 2.5 years to election time, there's the issue of boundaries review, the registration of voters, and even the IEBC itself, because what we're talking about is a selection panel. We've not even started recruiting commissioners.
Yeah.
Now, is it possible to have all these things done and done